In the cinematic sea of prequels, sequels, reboots, and reimaginings, the Movie Retakes podcast considers the merits and desires for Hollywood's new takes on our beloved movie classics. Brothers Matt and Chris Sully examine the latest retake franchises, pitch their own original retake visions, and share their love for the movies that made them. This is Big Sully.
And this is Matt, Righteous Dude Sully. Got to pull in a John Hughes quote there. And together we are the Sully Brothers.
Sullies unite.
That's right. Sully's together. We really appreciate you coming back for another movie retakes. We have so much fun doing this, and we really enjoy you coming back and listening. We know you have fun too. And for all those people who talk to us while we're talking, we're listening. We hear everything you say, and we're here to have some fun with you. So this is going to be a great episode. Before we get to the subject matter, we need to talk about following and subscribing. You want to do that. If you haven't done that yet, then please do. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform, as well as YouTube. We are posting all the videos over there. And join us for the live episodes. These are happening every other Wednesday. The next one is September 30th. Very, very soon. So put that in your calendar. And now, what are we talking about today but planes, trains, and automobiles?
Bill. Why did you kiss my ear? Why are you holding my hand? Where's your other hand? Between two pillows. Those aren't pillows.
Oh, man.
There's so many great quotes. Just insert a really good recording here of one of those quotes from the film.
I'm sure there's something. I'm sure whatever just played was amazing. Yeah, this is a great movie. It's a lot of fun, and inadvertently, or maybe it's on purpose, I don't know, this kind of becomes a John Hughes episode because I think for everybody, John Hughes is near and dear to our hearts, especially for our age group growing up. Like everything John Hughes was just so epic. Kind of for me was saying what high school was going to be like, what relationships were going to be like, house parties, all the shenanigans that were supposed to happen to you, and then ultimately, like, kind of with Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and Home Alone and all these other, the Griswolds, seeing where you're supposed to end up, what kind of house you're supposed to live in, and all that sort of stuff. The closest I think I got snow. So thanks, John Hughes. I never went to one of your house parties. I never got into the shenanigans that you said I would, but I got snow. So I'm not in Chicago, but whatever. I'll take as close as I can get.
Yeah, it was a road map laid out for us, and somehow we didn't end up on that same map.
Oh well. But we had fun watching the movies, so thanks. And we also want to give thanks to a special reviewer. You've got to leave those reviews for us, especially the 5-star ones. That's the correct answer, is 5 stars for this podcast. And we have one here to read. Would you take that away?
Yeah, from VVMMSS on Apple Podcasts. Here's the review. We're a fly on the wall in our conversation between our favorite Sully brothers. Each episode is a nostalgic jaunt through the movies that made our generation love film. The pair let me live a little longer in the universe I hold so dear, and I look forward to where they'll take me next.
That's nice.
It is. That right there, we need to put that on a t-shirt.
I guess that's
it's a little
long
wordy, but
T.
if somebody's trapped behind you in an elevator or something, they'll read the whole thing.
Sure. If you've got time, set aside 5 minutes and you can read my t-shirt. Well, thank you, VMS. Yeah, go out there. If you haven't given us a review yet, please do. And comment on some of the YouTube videos. We'd like some interaction there. And on Twitter, we do announce, stuff we're going to be talking about. Sometimes we need help with our pitches as well. So we do like all the interaction there. And thank you to all those people that are constantly chatting with us. We have a lot of fun together.
Yeah, it's an ongoing conversation. I mean, every day people are, especially now, people are watching new content, and those conversations don't just go on around the movies that we talk about here, but definitely the TV series we're watching and movie news, and there's a lot going on in that world. Even though we're probably not going to get those movies for a while, we still like talking about it. Like when we started this, we thought half of these movies would already be out, and we've gotten 1 or 2.
They should have been.
Bill and Ted, and Dune's on the way. Hopefully, it's probably going to get pushed back, but you never know.
Yeah, I think it probably will.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But hey, that was just the opening. Stay tuned for more throughout the episode as we answer some very important questions, like what fictional town is home to most John Hughes characters? What other John Hughes film ends with a John Candy in a freeze frame? And what's the only other John Candy/Steve Martin movie? I actually don't know that one, so I'm pretty excited to hear the answer. And then we're mixing things up this week. We're going to go ahead and give you this one early. So if you fast forwarded just to get the keyword, you missed it. It's right here at the front. The giveaway keyword this week, jot that down somewhere, jot it down, or just remember where it's at so you can come back to it when we get our next giveaway launched, which we're working on now. Your keyword for this episode is pillows. Pillows. Pillows.
Very good.
I always try to make it less than obvious. Like someone's going to write in planes, trains, or automobiles.
Yeah.
But will they think to write pillows if they're trying to cheat? I don't think so.
No. All right. So those of you skipping ahead and coming back or rewind and all that, but we are going to move ahead now with what you watching.
Oh, I've been busy at it this last week. Not only spending a little more time than I should with a touch of insomnia, watching late night Netflix, but also watching while I work here, preparing notes and whatnot. I've been busy. Ted Lasso, best thing on television or on streaming right now. If you're not watching it, you must. Every episode is better than the last one. And you know, it's actually perfect for this week. Ted Lasso is a perfect combination of comedy and emotion that is rarely brought to life in such a fantastic way. Ted Lasso every week tugs at my heartstrings now. It's really, really good. You should watch it. It's on Apple Plus TV. If you don't have that, or Apple TV Plus, whatever the plus is, if you don't have it, I highly recommend spending the money for that, and they have 3 or 4 other really good shows on there that you should be watching. Even if you only do it for a month and catch up, and then you can move on and do something else. But Lovecraft Country, I feel the opposite about it this week. I did not like this last episode at all.
Oh, no.
I'm confused. I don't know where the hell we're going. I don't know why we had that. I can't wait for the next episode. It's a weird combo of love and unlike right now.
Okay.
I started Enola Holmes on Netflix, which is a story about the younger sister of Mycroft and Sherlock. Replicas. I watched the movie Replicas with Keanu Reeves. I don't know if anybody saw my tweet, but the lead characters in this movie that came out last year and somehow just missed my radar completely are William and Ed. For those paying attention, that's Bill and Ed. Nicely done, writers. Mm-hmm. I watched on your recommendation, #Alive. I loved it. Oh, that was a fun movie.
Okay.
It was different than I expected completely, but I love the survival of a zombie movie story of a small group of people.
Yeah.
Always fun.
Yeah, I agree. Which is what's strange is like I love anything zombie, and yet I fell off of Walking Dead a long time ago. Like I haven't been watching in forever, and I don't think I'm going to come back to it. But what do you got?
Perfect segue. I after 3 years, I have gone back and finally figured out, by watching a couple episodes for the second time, finally figured out where I left off on Fear the Walking Dead, the spinoff show, which started strong and then just got very mundane very quickly.
I agree.
But I love the cast members that I see that are currently in the show, so I've been meaning to go back and catch up on that for a while. And so I'm finishing up season 3 now and then moving ahead. I think they're in like season 5 or 6.
Yeah.
6 probably.
Aren't they supposed to do a couple more spin-offs?
Yes, there are 2 more coming.
That's crazy.
And movies.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's, regardless of what anybody says about the Walking Dead universe, I think it's fantastic. I think there's still a lot of opportunities there to tell a bigger story that ties together. And, if you don't like it, no reason to tweet about it. Just stop watching it. That's that simple. I watched the movie The Take with Idris Elba on Netflix. That was really good. I started Nurse Ratched on Netflix. Did not like it. Watched half of an episode, turned it off. I don't know where it's going. I don't understand. I'm very bored. Friday Night Lights, the series, just finished up season 3. I'm loving that. And like I just said, Fear the Walking Dead, got back to that. As far as podcasts, I haven't been able to run lately, which is why I've been watching more TV and movies. But I did catch Mark Maron had on, J.K. Simmons. I love J.K. Simmons.
Yeah, me too. He's great.
Great podcast episode. So interesting to hear his story about how he got into acting later in life. As a TV and movie actor. ID10T with Chris Hardwick. And then games, of course, I'm streaming on Twitch. I'm playing PGA Tour 2K21. Lots of Fall Guys. Lots of Rocket League. Rocket League just went free to play for the world.
Oh.
You can now download it on Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, or PC absolutely for free. And on PlayStation and Switch, you don't even need their service that allows you to do online multiplayer. That's just included somehow. Rocket League, Epic Games must have just paid for that service or whatever, so you can play that from any of your devices with your friends for free now, which is amazing. Great idea.
I guess I assume they have a bunch of stuff you could purchase, customizations.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's the model they're going for. Okay,
Epic's
cool.
the same company that owns Fortnite, so it makes sense that they've just come over, they bought Rocket League, and now they're applying what they learned there. And already, I'm really excited about some of the stuff they're doing. There's a weekend event that starts this Saturday called Llama Rama, where you can play enough rounds in the game to get some achievements and unlock the battle bus from Fortnite as a playable car in Rocket League.
That's cool.
Or a llama car with a llama topper.
I might actually try.
Really cool.
I haven't played in a while because I was just terrible at it. But yeah, I thought that might be fun to try and get on board and do some of those. You have to do certain achievements or something to unlock it. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna try that.
A limited window of time. It starts this Saturday afternoon and it goes for like 3 or 4 days, maybe a week. You have to do it in that time to get the achievements. But Rocket League is fun all the time. It's just one of those games. There is a pretty steep learning curve to get decent at the game, but stick with it if you try it. It's so much fun when you do.
Cool.
That's it for what you're watching. I took up 10 minutes. Sorry, but.
No, that's fine.
Busy.
Yeah, I haven't been watching a ton of stuff, actually. I did. I was up late last night, and I did watch Enola Holmes. It was as charming as I wanted it to be. Yeah, I liked it a lot. It was, you're not asking for anything complex here. This is pretty straightforward. It's a nice little mystery to solve, and I don't remember her name from the show. What's that show?
From Stranger Things.
Stranger Things, thank you.
I know it, and it's escaping me. That's just the part where people hit the steering wheel or pound on their
everybody else
on
knows
their
it.
couch. Like, why
I'm sure we could look it up, but whatever. You guys, you got us covered. Anyway, I really liked her. I was the main reason I watched is because I wanted to see her outside of the Stranger Things role. Yeah, and she did a great job. She's just that tells me that we're going to see a lot more of her and a ton of other stuff. She's really good. Also been watching The Boys, enjoying that a lot. What a crazy show, and
love it.
But it's really good. It's really well done. And that main guy, Homelander, just scares me every time he's on screen. I'm just waiting for him to blast a hole through somebody. It's just, dude, freaks me out. I'm also watching Lovecraft Country. And I know what you're saying, and I think probably a lot of people are like this. What you need to do watching this show is realize that this is basically just like Tales from the Crypt or like the Friday the 13th, the old shows where these are just, each episode is its own thing. They try and tie it in with an overarching story. It's just like I was thinking back, what was it, the second or third episode where all of a sudden she has a house. That was just so that they could tell a haunted house story. That's it. Yep. They're going to keep doing this, and hopefully they can do it in creative ways where it's not quite so obvious. But it doesn't matter. Like, just enjoy it on an individual basis. And if you don't like that story, don't worry. It's going to be a completely different one the next episode.
That is true.
Yeah. So I still really enjoying it. We just finished season 1 of Fargo, and I got to tell you, this is one of my new favorite shows. So good. It was rock solid. Everybody, great performances. Billy Bob, oh my God. That dude was just amazing. Everybody was in there was amazing. The story was well told. It finished really nicely. Like, I like how it wrapped up. And I'm looking forward to all the additional seasons. So if you're not watching Fargo, because I think next week is season 4's going to be available. Yeah. So we'll probably be speeding through 2 and 3 just to get to 4 very soon.
Well, be prepared. Each season is its own universe and story. I have some theories on that being slightly untrue. But once you get through it, we can talk more about that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but I really enjoyed season 1, and I'm looking forward to the next ones. I'm still watching periodically Lower Decks. It's an enjoyable show. Honestly, I'm a terrible Star Trek fan. Like I enjoy that world, but as far as like the TV shows, I've not watched, but like I don't know, maybe a couple of them. Like I know there's 5 of them or something, and I just never have. I've told some of them are you got to watch, some of them you don't. But Strange, I don't know why. I just never went and watched any of those. So I guess this is my sort of way of trying to get back into it, and I am enjoying it. It's actually pretty entertaining, and looking forward to when they finally pick up and do some more movies and stuff. And then there's Discovery is coming back for
season 3 is coming up. That is a wonderful show. Yeah, it's really well done.
I'm thinking about picking that up since it's in season 3. That's kind of my thing. It's like I will watch shows if they're just starting, but I only am excited to watch a show when it at least has 3 seasons, so I know I can get a larger story and not get into something after season 1 and then it's canceled or in the middle of season 1. But
I think the wonderful thing about the Star Trek universe and CBS specifically is I think someone there finally got that it's not all about the ratings, since we all know ratings are BS anyway. It is Star Trek is a part of our culture, much like Star Wars, just not as big right now. But there are people that will always consume that content and love it. And CBS is just embracing it with, you got Discovery and Lower Decks, and there's like 2 more series coming from that same universe as Discovery. And they're going to stick with it, I can tell. And I'm really excited about that. The fact that they put it behind their pay gate of that CBS All Access is a little frustrating, but I did see that in the States, at least, starting this week or next, they're starting season 1 of Discovery for everyone to view, not just behind that CBS All Access app. Oh, okay. So I think that's going to change things, too. I think we're about to get a nice resurgence of Star Trek, the way it should have been for years. But
yeah, that's how you'll get me, because like you're talking about the Apple platform, and I've been hearing they keep adding more shows, and some of them are very well rated, and I am interested, but man, I just don't want to buy another platform. I have too many already, and so I will wait. I think you know me well enough. Like I'll sit on something for a decade or 2 until it comes around and is available, and like whatever, it's new to me, don't care. All right, so so there's plenty of stuff to get out there and watch, and let us know what you're watching. Maybe we've completely bypassed some brilliance out there, and you need to tell us what to watch as well. So let us know on Twitter or wherever. So like I said, this is kind of a John Hughes episode. So for our behind-the-scenes segment today, I wanted to talk about the world of John Hughes. Welcome to Shermer, one of America's towns. In 1999, John Hughes stated that 16 Candles, The Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles were all part of the same universe, more specifically having ties to the same town. Shermer, Illinois is the fictitious suburb of Chicago based on Hughes' hometown of Northbrook, Illinois, originally named Shermerville. Northbrook locations are used for various Shermer-based movies. The exterior of Ferris's high school was John Hughes' old high school. The football field where Bender triumphantly pumps his fist at the end of The Breakfast Club is at that same school. The Northbrook Court Mall was used in Weird Science. Much of Shermer is from various Illinois locations, creating a cohesive and grounded world where the audience, though unaware of the effect, feels comfortable. The scenes are familiar, the people understood. After so many visits, Shermer is as real for us as it is for the characters within the John Hughes world. When I started making movies, said Hughes, I thought I would just invent a town where everything happened. Everybody in all of my movies is from Shermer, Illinois. Del Griffith from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles lives 2 doors down from John Bender. Ferris Bueller knew Samantha Baker from 16 Candles. The Griswolds, the McAllisters, the Ryans, Frys, Buellers, Bakers, Benders, Petersons, and the Donnellys all lived there. Uncle Buck babysat his nieces and nephew here at a house just down the street from where Jenny Baker got married. Shermer is where Wyatt and Gary threw an epic house party, and Log Duck Dong met his sexy girlfriend. For those itching to do a John Hughes movie location tour, you can still see the real-world houses and buildings across Illinois. Cameron Fry's and Jack Ryan's houses are in Highland Park. Katie Bueller's office is in Winnetka. The Baker's house is in Evanston, and Neil Page's home is in Kenilworth. And, of course, a drive through Chicago will feature the other iconic Hughes locations like Wrigley Field and Sears Tower. If you want to visit the Weird Science house, though, you're out of luck. It has since been torn down. Maybe the new owners didn't care for the all-blue kitchen.
Oh, man. Nice reference. That stinks that house has been torn down. Because I was just thinking how cool it would be to do that tour and, like, take figures that have been made for the characters and, like, do some photo shoots in front. That'd be a blast.
Yeah. I found a YouTube video where it was like a couple went and did the John Hughes tour and basically reenacted, did photographs of all the different scenes and different locations and stuff. Nice. I think that would be a lot of fun. I don't know driving distance, like where all those are apart from each other, but the fact that they're all in the same state, I mean, that's worth it. You could do that. That'd be a great and inexpensive trip too. You just drive around a little bit and take pictures outside of houses.
I'm so bummed. I used to go to Cleveland, Ohio a couple times a year for the software training that I had to do at a company I used to work at. And on my last trip there, I found out that the house from Christmas Story is there and you can go tour it. And I had never gone, and I haven't been back since. I swore to myself, if I go back, that's a priority. And I have not been back. I heard it was refurbished to look just like it did when they made the movie.
Oh, do they have the leg lamp in the window?
They've got to. If they don't, at least at Christmas time, they failed miserably.
Yeah. Did they sell those? Can you buy that leg lamp?
You can. You can buy full-size leg lamps. I have a leg lamp ornament and a leg lamp nightlight, but I don't have a full-size one.
I got to get one of those.
Maybe this is the year.
This is the year. All right, well, let's talk about planes, trains, and automobiles.
You're in a pretty lousy mood, huh?
To say the least.
You ever traveled by bus before? Your mood's probably not going to improve much.
Synopsis of this. A man must struggle to travel home for Thanksgiving with a lovable oaf of a shower curtain ring salesman as his only companion. This stars Steve Martin, who you know from The Jerk, The Man with Two Brains, All of Me, Three Amigos, Parenthood, L.A. Story, and those last few. I mean, I'm a big Steve Martin fan, but Three Amigos, Parenthood, L.A. Story, those are just phenomenal movies, and you should watch all of them. John Candy is in this with him. He was from SCTV, Stripes, Vacation, Splash, Brewster's Millions, Summer Rental, Volunteers, Uncle Buck, and Cool Runnings. And the answer of the question at the beginning, what other movie were they both in? Little Shop of Horrors. So they both had little, obviously Steve Martin was the dentist.
Yep.
But John Candy comes in there. He's the radio DJ, right? So when
you know what's sad is, again, going back to my not a big fan of musicals, I've only seen that once ever, way back in the day. I need to watch it again.
It's probably, I'd be comfortable saying that's my favorite musical. Like the music is amazing. I cannot believe some of those songs. It's just a quirky, fun movie. There's two versions of it. I don't know I guess you only seen it once, so you wouldn't know. But there's one, the original ending. Basically they lose and the aliens invade and kill everybody, which is rather depressing. And then thankfully they changed that and went for a bit of a happier ending where everybody ends up okay. With sort of a I think Audrey 2 or another version of it is in the plant bed at the end, just to give kind of an ominous, maybe things will go spoil again or go south again. But yeah, great movie if you haven't seen that. And you know what? I know it's not everybody's bag, musicals, but get over it, because this is a great movie. And if you love music, just listen to it as songs, whatever. Layla Robbins is also in this. This was her second movie. The first was A Walk on the Moon earlier that same year. She was also in Welcome Home, Roxy Carmichael. Lots of TV. Sopranos, Homeland, Murder in the First, Deception. And she is on The Boys as Grace Mallory. She's like that FBI agent. I think she's FBI or CIA, whatever. So she's still working. This was directed by John Hughes, obviously. That's what we've been talking about this whole time. Where have you been? He also did Curly Sue, Uncle Buck, She's Having a Baby, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Weird Science, The Breakfast Club, and 16 Candles, and a few other ones. He also wrote this movie, and besides writing all of those movies I just listed that he directed, he also wrote National Lampoon's Vacation, Mr. Mom, Pretty in Pink, Some Kind of Wonderful, The Great Outdoors, Home Alone, and Career Opportunities.
Jesus.
This guy, that's just rock solid work, man. That's comedy gold all the way.
And they each, even though they all tied together and there's a bit of a similar vibe, those are so many very different stories that he told.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah, it's really impressive, and they're all just. That's one of the things is it's not just comedy. Like every one of those has drama, and it works. Like it's not forced in any way. Like the comedy it can be real goofy and out, way out of sync, but it doesn't seem to matter. Like the drama still hits. It's still emotional, and you laugh. I mean, what else can you want from a movie, really? It's good times all around anytime you watch a John Hughes movie. This came out in 1987. We talked about that in our Spaceballs What If episode. So I'm not going to cover the box office films that year, the big box office money makers. I want to talk about some of the other ones that came out. There was also Can't Buy Me Love that year, Raising Arizona, Baby Boom, Back to the Beach, which I don't know if a lot of people like that movie, but I love it. Roxanne, The Monster Squad, Over the Top, Overboard, Predator, Harry and the Hendersons, Adventures in Babysitting, Batteries Not Included, Empire of the Sun, The Running Man, The Princess Bride, and RoboCop. What a year.
Holy hell.
That was the best year in film.
That was a great year. Wow. So many classics.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and honestly, those, probably 10 movies or something, maybe a dozen movies, I've probably seen over 100 times in combination.
Oh, easily. Hell, I've seen Predator almost 100 times.
Good point. And my wife loves The Running Man. Like, that's one of her favorite movies.
It's so cheeseball awesome.
Oh,
God, it's
great.
so good.
This did pretty well at the theater, $49 million on a $15 million budget. And I think he had a pretty good fan base. I think everybody already was in love with John Hughes, so they would have gone to see his. And it's reflected in the rating, 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. So this is a loved film, and I think it deserves it. Rewatching it recently, again, it hits on the drama, it hits on the comedy. John Candy's just amazing.
I had no idea that was your cab. Let me make it up to you somehow, huh, please? How about a nice hot dog and a beer?
No thanks.
Just a hot dog, then.
I'm kind of picky about what I eat.
Some coffee.
No.
Milk?
No.
Soda?
No.
Some tea?
No.
Lifesavers?
No.
Slurpee?
Sir, please.
Just let me know. I'm here. I knew you.
He's so instantly lovable. Like, as soon as he comes on the screen, you just feel good. He has that effect.
I was trying to figure out why last night. There's just some people that just have it. But he just came off as so natural, like as a real person, and his laugh. I finally dialed in. It's his laugh. When he laughs, you just feel like you're getting a hug from the screen. Like, there was something so amazing about that man. God, I miss him. I wish we still had him and Chris Farley. They could have been great in a movie together. Yeah.
John Candy had a lot more in him. I think Chris Farley did too. That both of them make me very sad because they were, they both had a similar sort of thing. I mean, Chris Farley was a bit wilder, but yeah, both of them were just, you're right, they had that presence on screen that you just loved hanging out with them, and you want to see a lot more from them, and that's a shame. But there was a lot of great stuff about this movie. I really, I'm going to jump ahead to a recommendation here. I'm going to give it 4 stars because I feel like comedy, drama, storytelling, directing, everything, it has all the elements. Like, this is a solid movie. Everybody can enjoy this. There is a few times where maybe it's not family appropriate, but the rest of the time it really is. Like, there's a lot of a lot of good things to learn and experience from this movie.
I agree with everything you said. I also give it 4 stars. I just watched it in November for the first time in years, but getting ready for Thanksgiving, I was like, you know what? I haven't watched it in a while. I had to hunt it down. I had to pay to rent it at the time. But I set it up on my DVR to record anytime it played, and last night when I went back to rewatch the film, it recorded on like 7 different stations since November.
Oh, wow.
Which I was surprised to see. I would have thought it like only TBS would have it or something like that. To me, this is a Thanksgiving classic, much like Christmas Vacation or Christmas Story and Christmas Vacation are Christmas classics. I was surprised to see this one is probably not getting the love it should every year around Thanksgiving time. So, but I watched it again, and I was like, I'm just going to do a little refresher. I'm going to be on my phone while I'm watching it. I didn't. I put the phone down and watched the whole thing. I even stopped fast forwarding through commercials. I was just like, I'm just going to let it play out. I'll have a little pause to think about things on each commercial break. But this movie, even though it's dated, even though there are definitely some things in there that you look at and you go, wow, that's just not the way the world is anymore, it's dated in such a great way. It's like a time capsule of the late 80s in that so many amazing moments. I'm always amazed at the cameos by people that we knew from like the SCTV and 80s comedians, even other 80s big stars like Kevin Bacon. That one trips me out every time. Like, why was he in this movie? Like, it makes no sense, but it's amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
And then these other up and comers, like the guy who plays Owen, Dylan Baker.
Leave it be. Get your lazy behind out here and put that trunk up in the back.
Oh, no, we've got it.
It's very heavy. She don't mind. She's short and skinny, but she's strong. Her first baby come out sideways. She didn't scream or nothing.
Isn't that something? You're a real trooper.
I just love all the little cameos, and I love the feeling, and I love the music. Like, the music really helps tell the story so much on this one. There's that theme of every time something's going wrong, you get that one beat,
right.
And every time something's going better, you get a different beat. And just the way that Steve Martin carried himself in this film to be this serious guy, but still take these little comedic jabs at things, like in a way that very few people can do. And I struggled with my retake that we'll talk about in a minute. How could you recast that character? I could only come up with 2 names that could possibly do it. I'll talk about that in a bit. But just everything about this movie and that story that you don't see coming on the first take. So if you haven't seen Planes and Trains and Automobiles, you need to watch it before you listen to more of this, because the twist on this one for John Candy's character, and I'll leave it at that without spoiling it for anybody who might not have watched, I didn't see coming the first time I watched it. And even in subsequent views, I was like, oh yeah, I remembered halfway through what was really going on. And boy, it hits so different when you know that. Like, all the way through, you're looking for these little bits, these little scenes that lead into that story. And it's John Hughes. That's pretty much all you can say. It's just so wonderfully written. It's so emotional and comedic at the same time. I know we've said that 5 times already, but no one does it like that, with exception. I was just talking about Ted Lasso. I think it's doing a wonderful job of carrying a balance, much like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and the other John Hughes movies did with a television show now. So I thought it was interesting that we have that at the same time that we're reviewing this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, John Hughes, he, as a writer, but, as a director too, like he just gets how to get into the emotion of relationships, like friendships and like marriage and, young relationships, high school relationships and stuff. Like, he just really, you're always you're pulled in, and you're like, it's all, you feel as emotional as they do, like when they go to tear up or whatever, or they miss somebody, or it's all there, and you believe it and you're into it. And honestly, I think that's like I said at the beginning, like, he did sort of shape my view of what the world was supposed to be, and I think part of that is relationships and stuff. And it's very welcome, and he does a great job at it. And when he gets that drama, he gets it right, like John Candy in that movie, when Steve's insulting him and stuff, and his face, and your heart breaks for him.
I'm an intruder.
Yes, you're an intruder. I was having a perfectly nice trip until you walked into my life.
I walked into your life. Who was that who talked my ear off on the plane? Who was that? I'm curious.
Well, who told you to book a room? I did, out of the goodness of my dumb old heart. Boy, you're an ungrateful jackass. Well, go ahead, sleep in the lobby, see if I care. I hope you wake up so stiff you can't even move.
You're no saint. You got a free cab, you got a free room, and someone who'll listen to your boring stories. I mean, didn't you notice on the plane when you started talking, eventually I started reading the vomit bag?
And his rebuttal to that was fantastic, too.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, this is great. There's also some great humor in this. Yeah, you mentioned some cameos. Kevin Bacon's in this. Ben Stein is in this. Ferris's dad, Lyman Ward.
Right at the beginning.
Yeah, Edie McClurg, Michael
Mrs.
McKeon, and a little bitty Matthew Lawrence is his son in there. And I recognize some other people too. I just didn't catch their names, but yeah, full of some great stuff. Oh, so that guy you mentioned, is Owen the truck? The guy who picks him up the truck.
Yeah, picks him up and spits all the time.
Yeah, if I remember right, he's also in Delirious with John Candy, the one where John Candy's this writer. He writes like soap operas, and he gets, I think he gets like a concussion or something, and he's drawn into the soap opera world, but he's also still the writer. So he figures out he can write what happens to people, and he writes him as like he gets terminally ill or something. And this guy throughout the movie is basically just literally falling apart. Like his hair falls out, he gets this giant tumor, his teeth are falling out, and it sounds awful, but it's really funny. It's treated very well. But yeah, those two were great together. I love a good road trip movie, the Trying to Get Home movie, which is very John Hughes. And so this has that. I don't know why road trip movies are just the best.
Yes.
And especially the road trip movies where the car is demolished by the end of it. I don't know. That happens a lot, and it's funny every time.
I really do. I believe that. I know it's not pretty to look at, but it'll get you where you want to go.
Now, you got no outside mirror.
No, we lost that.
You have no functioning gauges.
No, not a one. However, the radio still works. Funny as that may seem, with all this mess, that the radio is the only thing that's really working good, and it's as clear as a bell. Don't ask me how.
But you're right, it is pretty dated. There's some dated stuff. All the smoking. Like, you're not so aware of people smoking until you watch this movie. And it's so strange because we grew up in that time period, and I remember everybody smoking everywhere. But now you see it. It's just so immediately foreign that it's crazy. All right, but so we both really still enjoyed it. 4 stars. So yeah, you got to go watch this one if you haven't already in preparation for the podcast. Then go watch it now. It's out there, and if you can't find it, you can find it. You may have to spend a little money, but it's worth it, I think.
Or set up that DVR to record it, like I was talking about. On YouTube, I can just punch in a movie title, and it'll record it anytime it comes up. And this one will be getting some play, I hope more than ever, between now and Thanksgiving.
Yeah. But now we have our ideas for the next Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, or whatever title you're going to use. I think I know you, and it'll probably use the same title, but I could be wrong.
You know me.
Let's see.
I went first last time.
You
so
did. Okay.
I think you're up. Yep.
All right. Well, I did go with the name Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. This is not. This is not going to be a. It's a different story. It just happens to have the same title. Now, I came up. We did on our last live. We talked about comedy duos and a lot of great options, and I did not list these two. But came up with this concept when we were actually talking about possibly doing the great outdoors, and I think they still fit for this as well. I'm going to go with female leads here with Melissa McCarthy and Rose Byrne. I love those two. Yeah. And they were in Spy together and also Bridesmaids. And fantastic. Rose Byrne, she has that kind of comedy where you're like, it's it's subtle, but well, it's not even. I don't know. She just her delivery is fantastic, and obviously everybody loves Melissa McCarthy. And I just feel like if we're trying to get into that sort of zone, like a John Candy zone, I think Melissa McCarthy is a great female, interpretation of John Candy, I suppose. And Rose Byrne, maybe not the Steve Martin exactly, but she's got that sort of harsh, sort of stern, serious side, but can also hit those comedy lines really good. So I love these two together, and I would like to see them as a comedy duo doing several movies together. I think they could become a pretty solid pair together. I am going to go with Coen Brothers to direct. Now this is a little bit different, but I love their take on both drama and comedy, and they've done some period work as well with like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And Hudsucker Proxy and stuff. And so I think they've proven that they can, show those worlds in a wonderful light and get all the costumes and locations together, because I'm setting mine right at the end of World War II. Instead of going into the future of any kind of sequel or anything, I'm taking this back.
Wow.
My draw here was I love the concept of doing basically a road trip movie from an earlier era, and we get to see what cars were like then, what, buses were like, riding in the back of like a shepherd's truck or whatever, and the planes, they're all prop planes from the time and stuff. And so it's just a different sort of atmosphere that I think would be a lot of fun. All right, so here is my pitch. Start with a little bit of a text at the beginning just to sort of set where we are. 16 million American men and women served as military in World War II. Of those that stayed behind, many did their part to support the war effort, waiting and hoping for the day when the fighting would end and their loved ones could come home. Cincinnati, Ohio. A neighborhood of simple homes is decorated with American flags. Mothers are sending children off to school. Some are suiting up in overalls. We see a middle-aged woman step from her home, the porch decorated in emblems of American and military pride, icons of membership in organizations like the Office of Civilian Defense, the Red Cross, Zoo Force, and plaques designated her offices of Raid Warden and Fire Watcher. She's all in. In a montage of door-to-door conversations and home inspections, Marigold Johnson, played by Melissa McCarthy, is making sure her neighborhood is up to snuff, ready for possible attack, and doing everything she can to keep America free and safe. When Marigold reaches the entrance to a hilltop mansion, she blows a nervous breath and approaches the door. Lily Burton, played by Rose Byrne, answers the door in a fur coat and a drink in her hand. It appears this isn't her first one of the day. Marigold attempts to hand her a flyer, which Lily knocks away. Lily slams the door in her neighbor's face, leaving Marigold in angered determination. The montage shifts to repeated attempts by Marigold to speak with Lily. Each time she is rebuffed, Marigold is fed up. When Lily won't turn out her fireplace during an air raid, Marigold pours sand down the chimney. When Lily rejects the scrap drive, Marigold dismantles Lily's car. When Lily won't buy war bonds, Marigold helps herself into her home and starts stuffing expensive items into a bag. This last act ends with Marigold in jail. While in jail, the war is ended. Marigold returns home to find a letter from her husband in the mail. He's coming home, and his ship has plans to dock in New York a week from today. Marigold is ecstatic, but she realizes she's too poor to make the trip. Her neighbors are either in the same boat or have already left to meet their returning soldiers, but she refuses to be robbed of any more time away from her man. She goes to the only person she knows that has the money to help. Who could that be? I don't know. It would be an odd pairing if it was Lily. Begging and pleading gets Marigold nowhere with a loan, but conveniently Lily is planning the same trip to New York. How convenient. And is without any help to pack her bags or drive her to the airport. After many visits to Lily's house encouraging women to take up factory work, it seems all Lily's servants left her employ for better wages. Now Lily wants to torture Marigold as revenge. Lily will pay her way if Marigold will be her personal servant. And that's kind of a cop-out, one of those stupid TV tropes, but whatever, we're going with it. Marigold reluctantly agrees, and we see the pair traveling to New York via plane, car, and bus, each experience ending with increasing comical disaster. It's a tour of 1940s America and the various hardships for families of all races as we see how the war has taken its indirect toll. Marigold will help put a wing back on a plane with her riveting skills. Lily baffled by the sudden appearance of Marigold's riveter. Lily will show Marigold fashion and makeup, as it was believed keeping American women looking their best was good for morale. When stopping for help from a farmer, Marigold will have to take down a wild bull, demonstrating her zoo force training, which was a real thing that they did in Cincinnati. It was a group of people that were in charge of taking out dangerous animals had the local zoo been breached during a bombing. Lily will trade her mink fur for a coat of chicken feathers. The women will bond and learn from one another and talk about their husband's absence. Anxious to see her husband, Marigold overlooks how reluctant Lily is to reach New York, as if dreading being reunited. When they finally arrive at the docks, the two women part, Marigold rushing with joy to her husband. The pair are arranging travel home when they see a man approach Lily. Tears in their eyes, he hands her dog tags and a package, hugging her briefly before meeting his own wife nearby. Lily's husband had died sometime during the war, but she had promised him she'd be there when he arrived. In a flash forward, we see Marigold preparing her home for Thanksgiving, and Lily knocks on the door. She's carrying a cake decorated with tiny vehicles from their trip, planes, trains, and automobiles.
Oh, well done. I like that. I can really see that in my head. Like that would be a really fun movie and a good way to use that title.
I think so. I didn't spend too much time on the shenanigans or whatever, and there's plenty of space for all of that. But I wanted to get the idea of setting the scene for this, and I can totally envision them in those roles, like Melissa in like the overalls. What's that character? The Riveter.
Rosie the Riveter?
Rosie, thank you. I was like, it's an R. So I should have named her Rosie. Just make it more obvious. But she could be Rosie the Riveter, and Rose Byrne is sort of snooty, spoiled brat who we hate, but then realize that she's just been kind of depressed this whole time because her husband's actually dead. And I think they would work well together. It'd be a lot of fun.
Marigold's middle name is clearly Rosie. That has to be it.
There you go.
I think you should flesh this out even more and pitch this to somebody. I like this. It doesn't even have to have the title necessarily.
No.
Since they're already doing this reboot, but that's just a good movie. That's just a fun movie.
Yeah. I actually thought about trying to extend it. I don't know what I would do with it if I want to do like a screenplay or a short story or something. But yeah, I kind of like it too. It would be a lot of fun. Yeah. Plus, I like researching the history of the era. I got into a whole thing where it started with me being there was a it was called so after the war ended, they had already been making plans to get all these troops out, but there was when the Japanese signed the surrender, it was kind of sudden, and there was like 8 million troops still over there that needed to come home, but coordinating that and getting all the ships and stuff together to do it was just crazy, and to get them home in a timely manner, and it kept getting delayed, and there was apparently a big uproar over there was some protests and riots because men just wanted to come home and they couldn't get home, and it was called Operation Magic Carpet was the big coordinated effort to get all these ships together, ships that were like they were going to be decommissioned. Like this was their last thing, was just to get guys back home. And then you've got all the great imagery of like, you've seen it where the old footage where these ships are over, like spilling with troops, like they're every inch of the deck and stuff. And that's where that was them all coming home with, Statue of Liberty in the background and stuff. And I just think it would be a beautiful movie too. Kind of uplifting and maybe pro-America right now, where maybe we need a little bit of that.
Dude, no, seriously, there's a movie here. This, and I love the casting too. You're great. This is a great comedic duo. Yeah, make this happen. I want to watch this.
All right,
I want to see that. Just throw that together. I'll come on up and we'll do some filming. And
I'll ask Melissa and Rose if they're busy.
Yeah, they're not doing anything.
The Coen Brothers.
That was amazing.
I'm sure I could shoot it.
Well,
thanks, bro.
I quit. I'm not even going to try. No, I took a very different approach. Ironically, though, I did think about switching it, gender reversal, and doing 2 females for the lead. And actually, and I'm not, this sounds crazy, but I thought about Melissa McCarthy for a second.
Nice.
But I talked myself out of it. I was like, I don't know that story. I can't tell that story. You did a great job with it. I'm glad I didn't try it. Instead, I am taking a oh no, it's different, but it's not so different approach to this, and I'll tell you why here. This is confusing the way I'm pitching it. I am calling my movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. For a director, I wanted somebody that could capture both the comedy and the drama. So I chose Jay Roach, who directed Austin Powers, Meet the Fockers, and recently Trumbo. The guy has straddled both sides.
I never saw that.
Austin Powers and Meet the Fockers, I don't remember them having, especially Austin Powers, but maybe Meet the Fockers had a little bit of emotion to it. I think maybe having been around the industry a while and doing different types of films, he may be able to pull this together in a way others couldn't. So Jay Roach is my guy. And then for stars, I mentioned this earlier, I want to do not a shot-for-shot remake, but I don't know why you would remake this film, first of all. I struggled with that. It's so good. Like, why mess with it, right? But if you're going to, you need to pay homage to the original one as much as possible. So I'm going to do a very similar story, and I'm going to throw some twists in. Who do you cast as the role that Steve Martin played in this film? Who can do that? I've already hinted at it several times. I ended up going with Jason Sudeikis. One, because I just love everything he does. Two, I've seen him do it with Ted Lasso. I know he's capable of doing it. The other name I had on tap was Jason Bateman. I love Jason Bateman a lot, but I was trying to picture this duo, and Jason Bateman didn't work with my other choice. So Bateman's out, Sudeikis is in. My other choice, I looked up lists of larger male leads in Hollywood, because I think there's a lot of jokes throughout the original Planes, Trains, and Automobile that only work if you get a larger fella. And I don't want to leave that out. Again, we're paying homage to the original film. So I'm going out on a limb here with a very unique casting from one of my favorite TV shows on the planet, Letterkenny. I'm choosing K. Trevor Wilson.
Oh, okay.
Who plays the big guy always wearing the overalls. He's a stand-up comedian. He's very funny. He has that same huggable vibe that John Candy has. And I think if he can transition to major films and play off somebody who's seasoned like Sudeikis, I think they could vibe. I think I could see this happen. So there you go. Jason Sudeikis and K. Trevor Wilson. My setting is current day. Bear with me here. I'm going to tell this one in a slightly different way, and I need your help, audience. We start the film off in the waiting room, just outside a large meeting room in a downtown New York building. Neil Page, played by Jason Sudeikis, is waiting to enter the room, constantly checking his watch and phone while mumbling the words to his presentation. In the distance, we see holiday decorations and a Christmas tree in the lobby nearby. Neil, an entrepreneur, specifically an app developer, is finally invited into the meeting room and introduced to several young men in suits. He's there to pitch his latest venture, an app for valuing, buying, and selling sneakers. Side note, Jason Sudeikis is a giant sneakerhead, so this plays well.
Okay.
The whole movie, he's wearing just heat sneakers. The meeting has been delayed a few hours and gets delayed further when the investors throw endless questions at Neil's proposal, shooting holes in every angle of his pitch. Hours later, and desperately seeking to get home to his wife and kids, Neil finally sprints out the office and down to the street level. He's checking his phone every few seconds for a status update on where his Uber driver is, and arrives at the corner just in time to meet his driver. As he approaches the car, he sees another man getting in. The camera pans to the rider's face to show Kevin Bacon, and there's an exchange between the Uber driver and Kevin Bacon, who says, "Hey, I'm Neil, and yes, I'm headed to the airport." And the car takes off. Our Neil attempts to call another Uber ride, but can't, since he's technically in an Uber already. I mean, what are the odds of someone with the same name heading to the airport, really? But it could happen. So he sees a taxi and races across the street to get in. He sits down in the back seat and is about to shut the door when he realizes that one of his promo materials has fallen to the ground just outside the cab and is blowing down the street. He steps out to grab it and chases it a few feet before finally catching up to it. As he pivots to return to the cab, he sees a large man getting in and the cab taking off. He yells and gets the attention of the passenger, played by K. Trevor Wilson. As the events all start to settle in, Neil reaches to his pocket for his phone, only to realize that he left it sitting in the back seat of the cab. Neil still has his wallet and catches another cab to the airport. He's already missed his flight, but is still able to get booked on the last flight to L.A. That's home for him in this one. With plenty of time to kill before his flight, he heads to the Starbucks for a coffee and gets in line right behind a big burly guy. He eventually catches a look at the guy's face, and it turns out to be his cab thief. A couple of snarky comments later, the two get into an exchange about the stolen cab, and Del Griffith finally introduces himself and offers to buy Neil a coffee. Of course, he turns it down and buys his own. Much like the original film, our two stars are both headed back to L.A. at one of the worst possible times to travel across country. Christmas is just a couple of days away, and our leads must get home. The film's core is the same, but we run into some unique situations for Neil and Del to keep it fresh and to keep it contemporary, because the way that movie was originally set works for that time, but there's a lot of questions on how they could possibly work in a present day. And I struggled with that, which I'll get to more on that at the end of my pitch. So a couple of notes before we go forward, and this is how I'm departing from my typical pitch. I just want to set you up with some things because I'm not going to get into the weeds on these details, but this is what we learn. First, it seems that Neil's phone wasn't just lost. Someone else managed to retrieve the phone from the cab and was able to get into Neil's accounts and email. Second, Del is a rep for a liquor company and travels the country selling scotch from a small company based out of California. Del is more of an old school guy and still uses an old flip phone, so it doesn't have any apps, no Uber, no Lyft, no answers to some of these questions that would come up. And finally, Del has a little cash on him, but Neil always lived by his phone and only carries credit cards. So it breaks them. They're both low on funds, you know? So back to the story and some of the high notes as we travel across country. I like to envision one of those maps that we see every once in a while of them traveling across from New York to L.A. because it just works for a movie named Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. From New York to L.A., the flight doesn't make it far before an emergency landing for some sort of BS repair to the aircraft like we've all experienced at some point. In a small town in southern Illinois, too far from Chicago or another major city to simply take a cab over and catch another flight. Neil and Del are able to hop on a bus to St. Louis, but when they get to the airport there, bad weather has all the flights grounded and hotels full up. So Del comes to the rescue with a connection at a local hotel that happens to be a customer because the hotel has a bar. They're able to score, you guessed it, the last room available anywhere in the area that they've got to share. Shenanigans ensue. I'm not writing all that out. You can imagine. From St. Louis to Oklahoma City, the boys catch a passenger train. But that's the end of the line there, as the train doesn't run to L.A., and even if it did, they'd still miss Christmas because trains are slow as molasses. So it's on to Albuquerque with some other friends of Del's, a motorcycle club. I thought, let's mix in some other modes of transportation. And I throw a little twist in here. One of the bikers would be played by Jesse Plemons, that creepy actor who's been in so many things, including Friday Night Lights, which is why I thought of him. And since they're in New Mexico, there would definitely pass by a landmark from Breaking Bad. Plemons could make a comment that links him to Breaking Bad universe, something about a train or maybe Los Pollos Hermanos in the background. In Albuquerque, the boys decide to rent a car for the final stretch. Neil's lost phone issue has gotten worse, as the person who stole it has now tried using, or successfully, we don't really know, his credit cards, and Del comes clean that he doesn't really have much space left on his cards. Times have been tough. They're able to rent a very small car and wedge into it for the trip home, a smart car. So imagine big old K. Trevor Wilson and Jason Sudeikis sharing a ride in a smart car for the rest of the way. This is where an amazing cameo by Steve Martin would be perfect. What if he were the rental car counter person who told them that they were effed and they could only get that smart car?
That's a great idea.
He's got to be in it somewhere, right? And I just think the way he unleashed on Mrs. Poole, it's time that he got to unleash back on somebody.
Yeah.
They make it about as far as a fork in the road that leads them to either L.A. or Vegas when they realize that they only have enough gas to make it to Vegas, which is closer. So that's where they head. In Vegas, they need money, and Del has just the thing. Santa. Being as it's almost Christmas and Del has the perfect Santa build, he agrees to play Santa for another one of his many bar friends. They make enough money that night to buy gas and push on to L.A. Christmas morning is here, they roll into L.A., and finally have a discussion about where exactly they're both headed. The car is in Del's name, and he must return it, so he offers to take Neil home first. When they arrive at Neil's house, they find his family waiting, in that a very touching scene, hopefully, like in the original. Del comes in with the intention of immediately leaving, but Neil's wife quickly sees through his story. One look at Del and she knows that something isn't right. She invites Del in to spend Christmas with them. So, that's my overall story. But audience, this is where I need your help. I really struggled with some elements of this one, and I don't feel like I have a complete story here. And here's reasons why. I just have a heading called Unresolved. that I wrote. One, how could this story play out so that Neil's app idea gets better and becomes a massive success? Something they learn along the road about how people come together when they buy and sell or interact with one another or trust one another. So what could make his shoe app that much better that they learn along the way? I think that would be a nice ending to the film that ties back into that boardroom from the beginning. Also, how in the hell do two people in the world today become completely unable to get money from another family member or friend in a time of need like this? We have all the digital connections on the planet we could possibly have, which is why I almost strayed from current day, but really wanted to try and make it work. Thus the phone getting stolen, locked out of accounts.
Right.
Dell not being a technological guy. That's as close as I could get, but there's still so many holes you could shoot in that. And then finally, how would Dell be able to keep it a secret for so long that he can't call his wife for help? In this version, are they divorced, maybe, instead of her passing? Or is she... and I'm giving away, sorry, spoilers, or has she passed in this one? I tried to warn y'all earlier. It's your fault you didn't go watch the movie.
Yeah.
Or has she passed in this one too? Because going back and watching the original, like I talked about, there were some clues there, but there was a hole there. Why did they never lean on Candy to contact his wife for some assistance?
Yeah.
Why did Steve Martin never get his wife to wire money to a location or something? You know, they were able to call home from payphones.
I think that was kind of a probably a male stubbornness, you know, needing to be independent and finding their own way sort of thing.
Could be.
Not having to burden the family or whatever.
Or maybe that always thinking we've got it. We've just got to get over this last hurdle and we're gonna roll in just in time. We don't need to bother the fams.
Yeah, this is it's like horror movies and stuff. Like there's always that scene now in every movie where they have to explain that they don't have cell service for whatever reason.
Yep.
And everybody has to write it in because it's everybody's first question. And I cheated by basically going back a few decades.
I like that.
You could do maybe they end up maybe they miss a flight and they Dell can work with one of the baggage handlers to try and get in the baggage area using like Spanish. He thinks he knows Spanish, but he doesn't. And they end up going on a flight to Mexico or something, another country. So they end up there.
I thought about another country.
Something like that. That would be a good one.
I thought about starting the pitch off in Dubai, and then somehow they end up outside of Dubai, which I hear you don't do.
Yeah.
Something like that. More third world, scary area, lost your phone, now what the hell are you going to do? But then that seemed like, how do you explain the trek overseas getting back home in a limited amount of time? That's even trickier,
Yeah, it's a bit harder. I don't know, I'm sure. I mean, you got the basic elements in there. But, yeah, I think that's good. I like the actors that you chose. I mean, we haven't seen that one guy in any other movies or anything, but I've seen enough episodes of A Letterkenny that I could see him playing something else.
Allegedly.
And I like Sudeikis too. I think that guy is he does have kind of that Steve Martin thing where he can do drama, straight up drama, very, very well and believable, and hit the comedy. And so him doing a blend of that would be good. That they play off each other well. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it is troublesome in this day and age. How do you really make somebody stranded? I don't know, because it's kind of by choice. It's like to not be able to reach out to somebody.
There needs to be a term for, in movies, like exactly what we've been talking about. Like, how do you explain away the digital answer? Because there's been a lot of movies that have leaned into the digital stuff, like, using social media, tracking people's technology and phones and stuff. But if you're going to try and update a movie like this, that's a problem. That's a real problem.
Well, but you could do, like I said, where just don't worry about the tech, just make it the personality. Like they're both very stubborn people, unwilling to accept help from anyone else. And then you can just take care of it through that. I guess we'll find out because there is the remake coming up. It's in development now. This is a remake of this is the synopsis. A remake of the 1987 comedy about a pair of unlikely travel companions trying to make their destinations in time for the holiday weekend. This so far stars Will Smith and Kevin Hart, so that's our comedy duo. And this is going to be written and directed by Ayesha Carr. She has not directed anything. This is her first movie. But she has written on some TV shows. She wrote for Everybody Hates Chris, House of Pain, and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So she's got some writing chops, obviously, in comedy. So that'll be nice. And yeah, Kevin Hart and Will Smith, I think, are both still big box office draws. So that'll be huge for that. Now, yeah, the conversation of why remake this movie, I don't know. And how much you need to be dedicated to the original material. Because you may have the struggle like you're having in modern age. Does this still work? But we'll find out. That we don't know a whole lot more. But one of the things that I do know is that Kevin Hart was reaching out a couple years back to also do a reboot of The Great Outdoors. And I think this is pretty clever if he wants to try and go a route where he's remaking John Hughes films. Because as many people that would be upset by it will also go out and watch it based on that. And maybe it's just going to be the name of the movie, maybe just some of the characters a little bit or whatever, and then he'll make it his own. But you know what? That works. We obviously we have a whole podcast on it. So these remakes and reboots and reimaginings and all that do work and get people to the theater.
I wouldn't say this about many things, but I actually kind of hope this falls through and doesn't happen.
Okay.
I don't think this movie or Back to the Future, and I probably could list off a handful of others, I don't think they ever need an update. I'm not saying don't like that. I'm mad about it. Not that I'm not going to make one of those ignorant comments about you're ruining my childhood or you've ruined the original or something like that. But I don't see, other than using the name, why it would need to happen.
Well, it doesn't. I mean, it's just like my pitch. It's not Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It's just using that name. Just make a different movie that has the same premise. We talked about there's plenty of like road trip movies and everybody loves them. You don't need to go off of that name. So that's all it's going to be, is basically having some kind of foundation where, our nostalgia or whatever, or anger drives us to the theater just to see what happened to the John movies.
That's a point. I wonder how many people, out of sheer spite, because they think it's going to be so bad, will throw money at it, whether it's at the theater or in rental, just to go, yep, I was right, that was crap. I wonder how much money they make off of just that group.
I don't know. Could be. Somebody's done some investigation and found out anger and spite are 20% of the box office. So if that's true, then keep on going. I will say,
tell me there's a Back to the Future remake, I wouldn't want to see it, but I'd see it.
No. Yeah, you're right. Exactly. This, no-name director, I'm not real happy about. I'm not a big Kevin Hart fan. I know a lot of people are. I'm not into his style of comedy. I've seen him in where he's more subdued, and he is funny. But what he seems to be doing in most of his modern comedy, I don't really like. And honestly, Will Smith, I don't think he's funny anymore. And I don't think he's supposed to be. Like, he hasn't done a comedy in a long time. And, I mean, he's going to be doing the upcoming reunion for Fresh Prince. But I bet that's going to be awkward because I don't think he's that person anymore. I think he's now like an action star. And, it's going to take a lot for this to be genuinely funny, at least for me. I'm not looking forward to it.
I wonder that about Will Smith. They definitely have crafted his career in a way that made him more the action star for sure. But those skills, I bet, are in there somewhere. It's just a matter of, can we get him to surface again in the same way? Or has he just lived too much life and gone through too many things and just maybe you're right. Maybe he doesn't have it in him anymore. I'd like to see him try, maybe with another project.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I like him in a lot of stuff. I mean, I like Will Smith as an actor, and I want him to keep making movies. I just don't know if I need to see him in comedic roles anymore.
I'd rather have a sequel to Hancock.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually love that freaking movie. No one ever talks about it. It's amazing.
Me too. I like it too. I think it's a great movie.
So good.
Jason Bateman's great in it. Charlize Theron isn't. She's wonderful. Yeah, it's well told. I like it. It's a good one. And it's a cool take on superheroes, too. I think it's neat. All right, well, so I think we've aired our grievances here about the upcoming
new segments, airing grievances. Next feats of strength.
So let's go back to the original and talk some trivia.
Let's see. I'll kick it off with our first bit of trivia. The marathon car rental scene is exactly 1 minute long from the time Steve Martin starts his tirade to the time the attendant ends the scene, Mrs. Poole. In that 60 seconds, the F word is used 18 times. The film would have easily been rated PG or PG-13 by the MPAA if it weren't for that one scene.
Yeah, it's true. It is an R movie. And
bold.
Yeah, if they cut that out, it really would help a lot for making it more of a family movie.
It helps that movie hit a peak. Like, his frustration, you feel it. Yeah. He nailed it.
Yeah. John Hughes, in an interview on the Those Aren't Pillows DVD, said he was inspired to write the film's story after an actual flight he was on from New York to Chicago. The flight was diverted to Wichita, Kansas, taking him 5 days to get home.
Oh, my God. Howard Deutsch directed Pretty in Pink and Some Kind of Wonderful for Hughes. Hughes decided to direct himself after Steve Martin signed on. Deutsch got to direct The Great Outdoors instead.
Well, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's weird that I never really picked up on Howard's name. John Hughes is such a overpowering force for those movies that we all just call him John Hughes movies, even though he didn't direct them. The exterior of their aircraft in flight is a reuse of the 707 flying through the storm from the movie Airplane.
That's so crazy that they did that back then. I love it.
Yeah, why not?
I wonder if they do that in movies now. We just don't know it.
Probably.
In the airport scene in Wichita, when the airline employee announces that the flight has been canceled, you can see on the board behind him that the destination of the flight is nowhere.
The movie ends with a freeze frame of John Candy with a tight-lipped grin. Uncle Buck in 1989 ends exactly the same way, a freeze frame of John Candy with the same expression. There's your answer to the other trivia.
John Hughes shot over 600,000 feet, roughly 180,000 meters of film, almost twice the industry average. The rumored 3-hour version of the film does indeed exist, although not in order. Moreover, it's a mess of footage that would take months, maybe even years, according to Hughes, to transform into an actual film. It is locked away in a Paramount vault, and according to Hughes, most of it has probably deteriorated by now. Another note on that, I watched the trailer for the film, the original trailer. Some of the footage in the trailer was not in the movie. So if you want a couple of quick little add-ons, you can watch the original trailer.
That's true, and there's some other, I didn't include it in here, but apparently when it comes on television, there's 2 scenes that they actually add to the movie, which is a strange thing to do. Yeah. Just
the version I watched was television.
Oh, well, then you probably saw them. Something where on the airplane, John Candy's eating a brownie and some girl's hair gets on the brownie. And then something in the hotel where he's dancing around like Elvis brushing his teeth or something like that.
Interesting. No, I didn't. I don't remember seeing either of those. But you know what? It shows all my recordings that I have and the length of each. I'm going to look and see if one's slightly longer than the others, if I can find those scenes.
Yeah, I don't know if they cut anything to add those scenes or if they just added them. That's interesting.
Oh, good point.
At the beginning of the movie, Neil Page, played by Steve Martin, races a character played by Kevin Bacon for a taxi. Later, Neil phones his wife to tell her that he has been delayed again. In the background, you can hear the fight from She's Having a Baby, also directed by John Hughes, between Bacon and Elizabeth McGovern when she screams that she doesn't like his friend's girlfriend.
What? So it was a crossover scene?
Yeah, there's a crossover. And I don't know if that's what this is implying, but I read somewhere else that She's Having a Baby, the movie, is playing on the television in their hotel room. And it hadn't even been released yet.
What? That's awesome. He created a universe like his own MCU.
Yeah, it's weird.
That's amazing. The fictional name of the railroad which the characters ride is Contrack, a combination of Conrail and Amtrak, 2 well-known American railroad operations.
The train used in the movie sits dormant at a small rural station in the western New York town of Gowanda. The contract logos are still present on the engine and cars. It's remained unused since the making of the film.
Dang. Director John Hughes was known for staging improvisational moments for his actors in order to capture a genuine reaction. Since he was not satisfied with the Owen scene introductions after several takes, he privately instructed Dylan Baker, who played Owen, to wipe spit in his right hand just before shaking hands with Neil Page. Steve Martin, a known germaphobe, was not expecting that his facial expression contorts in disgust, having just clutched Baker's saliva-slathered hand. The film crew reportedly exploded in laughter as Martin ran off to wash his hands immediately following the encounter. Hughes got the reaction he needed, and the footage was kept in the film.
That's great.
That scene. Gross.
Yeah, that guy's awesome. After Dell steals Neil's cab at the beginning of the movie, Neil looks down and sees that the cab is gone. In the puddle on the ground, there are 2 shower curtain rings.
I actually noticed that this time.
Did you see that? I didn't.
I saw the ring. Yep. I was like, what is that a ring? I had not noticed that before. The sound effects over the opening title are of planes, trains, and automobiles, and they play specifically in that order as the main title rolls across the screen. Nice.
That's cool. No transportation company wanted to appear inept or deficient in any way, so crews had to rent 20 miles of train track and refurbish old railroad cars, construct a set that looked like an airline terminal, design a rent-a-car company logo and uniforms, and rent 250 cars for the infamous rent-a-car sequence.
Holy cow.
That's a lot of work.
Dang. I get it, though. Optics. Future Star Trek Voyager star Jerry Ryan was cast as an extra in the bus scene, but her part was cut from the final release. John Hughes decided to dismiss the 19-year-old because after several takes, she couldn't stop laughing at Martin and Candy's antics. Ryan had no lines in the scene, but her uncontrolled laughter became too much of a distraction. After Ryan left, Hughes reshot the scene without her. Oh my God. That's crazy.
The exterior of the rental car was designed to resemble that of the Griswold station wagon. I did notice that from John Hughes' previous production, National Lampoon's Vacation.
Yep. Same color and stuff.
Oh, there it is. I ruined your next trivia bit. Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. I can jump on to the next one.
Okay.
John Hughes originally wanted Tom Hanks for the role of Neil Page and John Travolta for the role of Del Griffith. Hanks was unavailable since he was busy shooting Big. Thank God we got Big as well. Paramount executives did not want Travolta in the movie because he was considered box office poison at the time. And yeah, he was.
For a long time.
Until Pulp Fiction.
John Candy uses the same line in 2 movies. I know it's not pretty to look at, but it'll get you where you want to go. He says that about the car to the police officer. He also says it in Cool Runnings when revealing the team's bobsled for the first time.
So awesome. The film's plot went through several revisions during production, including the ending. As originally conceived, Del actually boards the Chicago commuter train with Neil and follows him all the way home. During the editing process, John Hughes decided to change the ending so that Del would take the hint and allow Neil to return home alone. In order to get the new ending, Hughes and editor Paul Hirsch located footage of Steve Martin on the Chicago train from a previously deleted scene. All of this footage was shot without Martin ever even knowing the camera was on. His laughter and facial expressions perfectly matched what Hughes was looking for in the flashback scenes with Del. However, in the raw footage, Martin is only daydreaming or thinking about his lines in the next scene. Hughes remarked that Martin had a beautiful expression in those unguarded moments. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a great scene, too.
Yep.
Yeah. That's cool if they put that together.
I'm going to rewatch that scene now.
Yeah, that to me is the best kind of trivia. Prior to shooting, John Candy arrived with exercise equipment for him to use during production. Crews had installed a treadmill, bench press, weights, and other exercise gear in his hotel room. Steve Martin said Candy never used any of it.
He made everybody think he was going to, though.
Was it just a gag? Like, does he do that on everything?
I wonder. Or maybe was he like, had he determined that he was going to prepare for another role while he was doing that or something? Maybe. I don't know. After the credits, Neil's boss is still at his desk analyzing the ads. His Thanksgiving dinner sitting on his desk. I didn't know there was an after credits. I didn't hang around.
Me neither. I didn't watch that either. That's
all right, funny. I'm watching the train platform scene and then all the way through the credits now after this is over.
Well, that was a lot of fun.
Yes.
Yeah, great movie. Go watch it. It was great seeing it again. Any John Hughes movie. If you guys, maybe some of the younger listeners or whatever, just didn't grow up in that era and you haven't seen a lot of the John Hughes movies, it is going to be a wonderful ride for you to go and watch all those because they're all just fantastic. So go do yourself a favor and have a John Hughes weekend, and you won't regret it. And you won't regret joining us for the next Movie Retakes podcast. Segway King. Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe and follow and all those things. And join us for the next live episode that is on the 30th, the end of this month. Those are a lot of fun. We do some live trivia there where you can answer some questions and maybe win some prizes. So thank you once again. This has been the Sully Brothers for Movie Retakes. Have a great night.
Nerds unite.
Meet the Flintstones, they're the Marconi family. From the town of Bedrock, they're a page right out of history. When you're with the Flintstones, have a yabba-dabba-doo time, a yabba-doo time. You'll have a gay old